Pod Jerky, bringing you an audio experience the likes of which you've never heard before.
Pod Jerky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Pod Jerky. I am your host, Director Awesome, joined once again by our new co-host, the new girl. What's up?
Hello, everybody.
So the last episode that we just did a brief introduction, just got to know you a little bit. Today, we're going to go into another topic. We're going to get into something called conspiracies. My wife ended up buying me a book. I haven't opened it yet, called The Little Book of Conspiracies, just so everyone can see, just something right there. She basically bought it for me for bathroom material, I guess, something to read in the washroom. And I was like, I'm never going to read that in the washroom. Usually you take your phone in there and do whatever. And that's pretty much how people are today. So we're going to talk a little bit about conspiracies today. Again, these are not really our views on the conspiracies. These are just some of the stuff that are written in this book. And then we'll get our views on what we think of these ones here. I'm going to pick 3 out of this book right now that are pretty simple, pretty straightforward. A lot of people have talked about these before in the past, and I guess they're pretty common. So there's not going to be any surprises for you in terms of these actual conspiracies. What do you think about this? Are you a conspiracy theorist?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I find it interesting when people who are, and I you stumble across them on TikTok or on YouTube, like when you're like going down the rabbit hole and you kind of like listen to what they have to say and like all the different facts and how they kind of put it together. I find it very interesting.
Same here. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I do kind of, try to hear all sides of the stories before making my own decision on what's happening. But some of the ones that are out there are just like way like wild, reaching for stories. Like I don't know where they get their information from. I'm not sure how they get their information, but some of the stuff that's out there is just incredible. And it's just, like you said, wild.
It's wild.
Yeah. So I think the first one that we are going to talk about is in this book here. Area 51, Roswell.
Okay.
So
I kind of know ish like what the whole story is behind it, but like anyway, okay, just read it.
So Roswell, this is in New Mexico, in the 40s, I guess they said that a alien spaceship had crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. That the government has been trying to cover this up for years and years and years. The conspiracies out there are that they did capture an alien vehicle. They did capture aliens, actually. This was the whole premise of Independence Day, the movie with Will Smith. What are your thoughts on that? Are you a believer that there are extraterrestrials or UFOs in this world?
You know what? I feel like nowadays and everything that we've seen, it's possible. Me personally, I'm leaning towards I don't really believe that there are aliens. But then again, I also believe in ghosts. So it's kind of like I'm just in a weird place right now. I feel like throughout my life, what I hear about aliens and what I hear about ghosts, to me, I find it more realistic to believe in ghosts than aliens. My thinking is really weird. So that's my take on it. But I haven't really delved into anything about Area 51, anything about aliens, because that's not really my forte. But I want to learn more about it. I'm very excited.
Well, I mean, like this is a place in New Mexico that is sectioned off from the rest of the public. Like you cannot get past a certain point. There is military on guard that will, shoot on sight if you pass a certain point at this area. They're doing high end research. They've said that this was a weather balloon that they had caught, and it wasn't actually a UFO. A lot of the technology that we have today, they're saying, are reverse engineered from the spacecraft that they had captured. The alien that they captured, I don't know if it was alive, if it was dead, or whatever it was. Just interesting stories about this place. But for me, I have to believe, like, we're on Earth, and we're in a solar system. We're in the galaxy of the Milky Way. Now, the Milky Way is just one part of the universe, and there are many more galaxies out there. I just can't believe that we're the only planet in the entire universe that is the only ones that have living organisms or human beings or whatever it is on them. There has to be something else out there, whether it's in another galaxy or not. I don't know. But for me, I don't know. I find it hard to believe we're the only ones with life on the planet.
I think that part of the reason why people also don't want to believe that there's other life outside of Earth, I think it scares them. And I think deep down, that's also a reason why I don't believe it, because it's kind of scary to know that there are that it's possible that there are other beings that live on different planets. Who knows? They may look like us. They may be human beings that, I don't know how there could be another human being, but or something that's totally not a human being, but living.
Director Awesome could be a shapeshifter and be an alien and be a human, be an alien right now. Who knows, right?
Debatable.
But what do you think about the government covering it up? Do you think that's something that they could do?
Yes, 100%. We all know that the government has so much power, so much pull to do anything, basically. So I am not surprised at all. If this is true, if there is some truth to it, I 100% believe the government can cover it up. I 100% believe it, for sure.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I mean, the government can cover anything up that they want. There's a lot of other stuff that they cover up, including one of the next things that we're going to talk about, which is kind of a nice segue into this conspiracy, is MK Ultra. Have you heard of MK Ultra?
Oh my God, no, I have not heard about this. Please briefly explain.
MK Ultra was I'm going to read it here.
Okay.
Basically on the real Manchurian Candidate. So it was a drug that they were using, LSD, to do mass mind control. So this was a MK Ultra program that was used back in the 60s, I believe. Not sure if that's the correct dates, but it was basically a program that they were using to try to mind control the masses. Now, I just watched a documentary on TV called Manhunt, Unabomber, and that had Ted Kaczynski in it, who was the Unabomber, and they were debating whether he was part of the MK Ultra program and that he was actually under mind control of the US government. It's just an interesting thing that was brought up in that documentary. And then I'm reading about it on here, but I've already known about MK Ultra in the past. It just hasn't come across anything recently that I've read. But opening up this book today, it came across it, and it just seems really interesting that they talk about that program in the documentary as well.
Does that book delve in detail about the conspiracies?
Well, what it'll say is I'll read a little bit about it, but it just says there's disturbing evidence that the CIA was indeed involved in an attempt at mass mind control. The investigation in the 70s revealed that the CIA instigated a secret project called MK Ultra, frightened by reports that during the Korean War, communists had used brainwashing techniques to convert captured US soldiers. The CIA decided to develop its own mind control methods, and that would be MK Ultra. So what the theorists are saying is that MK Ultra research was successful. What's up, Hondo?
Hi, Tom.
Fact, hard to prove, given that the director Richard Helms illegally ordered most of, let's turn the page here, the files to be destroyed in 1972. So it's just, there's a lot surrounding it that makes you believe that it was actually something that happened, based on the the facts. I mean, the evidence that's there. So was this a program that they were working on to try and develop to combat the Koreans and the Korean War? Was this something that they wanted to use in the future? I don't know. But again, it's the government we're talking about, so nothing surprises me.
Yeah, that's giving me really like Black Widow Marvel vibes. Like, you know what? That's so interesting to me because I feel like when you read that to me, the first vibe I get is the first thought I actually have is the Roswell conspiracy theories. I would believe more than that for some reason. I don't know why. That's just my first thought. That's what I'm thinking right now. But when I really sit here and think about it, like it's possible. I feel like, I know this is going to sound lame and basic, but I feel like me saying everything is possible, it's true because like there's a lot of things around the world that we're kind of like, I didn't know that would happen, or oh my God, I would never think that would happen, but it has. So it's kind of like interesting to me in a sense that to control that, like that is wild.
Yeah.
Like, okay, okay. Speaking on that, now, I don't know if it's recent or what, but this whole micro dosing of mushrooms, like I feel like that's kind of like, okay, well, obviously it's not using LSD, but I feel like that's kind of in the same boat. And now when I think about, now that it's ringing like fresh in my head, like, yeah, that could be a possibility. Using it as a weapon, I don't know, but maybe they were just doing experiments with what was it called? What was that specific thing called?
MK Ultra.
So that's what it was called.
The name
like
of the program.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe that maybe they experimented with it to see. Oh God, I've never heard that. I'm like taken aback kind of. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I think that they were using it to experiment as well. To see how far they can get with it, and then see if they got to a certain point where things were successful, then they could use it against all humanity over the next 30, 40 years, just to be able to control people. A lot of things now, they're able to control people without any kind of drugs, just based on the things that they say in their speeches, and people that are sheep that just follow and listen to every word. You listen to Trumpers who listen to what Donald Trump says and then go and do exactly what he says for no reason at all because they think it's right. Then you have people that are on the left side, which are following what Biden says and just doing. It feels like not enough people are able to make up their own minds. Where if you were to introduce that program today, you'd probably have a lot more success just based on a lot of people's imagination or whatever it is that they're following.
Yeah, 100%. It's very interesting though, because now I feel like going back to the whole mushroom and microdosing to help. I actually don't know what that's used for. Like what I think it's supposed to help with like psychosis or something. I don't know. Don't quote me, but I don't know if that's what it's for. But I feel like that being more, I don't want to say normalized, but more prevalent now in society. I feel like that kind of opens the door for more types of like experimentation with other drugs. Like, oh, how far can I get with this drug? Or what can this drug do if we microdose it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And a lot more people today are more prone to trying things out than I think that they were back, in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Back then, it was not great, I guess, unless you were part of Woodstock to be smoking weed. But today, it's, in Canada, it's legal. Parts of the States, it's legal. A lot of the world, it's legal. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are more comfortable trying different things out than they were back then.
Oh, 100%. And that's what's kind of scary because I lost my train of thought now because this guy's scratching his freaking ear. But oh my God. Anyway, I'll get back to it.
So yeah, so I mean, that was basically what MK Ultra was, kind of what our thoughts were. We're not researchers that know everything about MK Ultra, so don't shoot us when you listen to the episode and say, hey, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about that. We're just basically taking stuff from this book again and hoping that something. My computer's not responding right now, which is sucky, but hoping that this right now is good to go with some of these conspiracies. All right, we're going to move on to the third one that we have here in our conspiracies book. And for those of you that don't know, because of the power and the magic of editing, we just ran into a huge technical difficulty there. Actually, I did on my end, which is fine. But we're back here now, and we're going to get into something that they called the Plandemic. And because we just came out of the pandemic, basically, and we're back to I guess, semi-normal life, what's going on right now, I thought this one was really interesting. And what the theorists are saying is that it's a hoax perpetrated on the global population in order to introduce draconian limits on civil rights and personal freedoms, or possibly as a decoy to distract from an impending apocalypse, such as an imminent comet impact supposedly detected in 2019 by NASA and the Vatican. It was planned by an elite group whose foundation genuinely had run a simulation exercise just 3 months before COVID first surfaced, modeling a global response to a coronavirus like pandemic. In conspiracy circles, this is known as some sort of exercise that they call it, and designed to both prepare the authorities and to acclimatize the public to their role as dupes. Now, what do you think about that?
Number one, when you said that NASA and the Vatican, is the Vatican the church?
Yes.
And what, the Vatican just knew that this comet was coming? Oh my God, that's the first thing. That's the first thing that stood out. Second, that was a mouthful. That was a lot. I mean, it's hard. Like I said about the second one, it's hard to say anything can happen. I feel like the government has already, I'm assuming that this is USA based, like American based kind of thing, sort of.
I would imagine.
Okay, so I would assume, because the government has already failed its people, obviously, and it's so discredited. I feel like, I've seen it, at the start of the pandemic, everyone saying oh, this whole pandemic is a way to cover up what they're really trying to do. They're trying to pass some bills and laws, low key during the pandemic, but because everybody is caring about the pandemic, nobody cares about this. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the government to do that. For me to say I 100% believe this, I don't. Just like all conspiracies, parts of it sound so real, so true. But then the other part of me is kind of well, where's this comet then? Okay, so when did they say this comet's supposed to hit the Earth?
They just said that they spotted it in 2019. They don't know when it's going to hit, but they're just kind of planning and running a simulation to see what everyone's role would be if something like that happened.
Wouldn't they obviously, if a comet's supposed to decimate Earth, wouldn't they keep an eye on the comet? And wonder where, okay, so this comet was here. Let's run simulations if it hit Earth. Okay, but then where is this comet now? I would assume that they are keeping track of where this comet is. And obviously, if it's such a big deal, we would have heard more of it, wouldn't we? That's why I'm kind of wishy-washy about that stuff. Really?
No, I don't think so, because I think they want to hide things, just we talked about it with the Area 51. Mm-hmm. They want to hide things that will scare people, put people into mass panic, put people into wanting to, carry weapons, do things like that, because it's just, to me, it's something that they're going to hide from the public and not want to release any of that information until it actually happens. When it actually happens, those are prepared. Those who aren't. and then they just run things the way they want to. Now with the pandemic, of course, we've heard conspiracies of they want to go cashless. They want to do, just everything is going to be computerized. They want to do this. They want to do that. This has been talked about at length on all kinds of shows, news outlets, this, that, whatever. Any kind of reading material you do, you're going to come across conspiracies. I just found it interesting in the book, just because, we're coming out of it now, but it's just, it is interesting to think that could the government actually set something like this up, or is this just a hoax like that? The conspiracy is actually a hoax, because we've known a lot of people that have gotten COVID. And this is why I don't believe that it's a hoax, because there's a lot of people that have died from it. There's a lot of people that have gotten extremely ill from it. Now, if this was a man-made disease, then that's exactly what it was designed to do. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. You kind of want to live in your bubble where you just think, people aren't that evil, but we know better. People can be that.
I was just going to say that. We know.
Yeah.
We know how evil people can get, how greedy people can get. So it's something that if not a couple years, but maybe 40, 50 years down the road, and something comes out where there's some sort of truth where this was designed for A, B, C, D, would you be surprised? Not really.
No,
I wouldn't. So,
but it's happened so much in the past. I mean, we look back on Pearl Harbor, where, people said that the Americans knew that this was going to happen. And then it was, kind of discredited. But then FDR in his deathbed admitted to knowing that the attack on Pearl Harbor was going to happen. And that was his way into the war. So, things come out, 50, 60, 70 years later. Yeah. Now the leaders that were in the US right now, they're up there in age, they're in their 70s. I mean, chances are within the next, 20 to 30 years, they're going to be kind of at that age where they're, kind of near death, where they may admit to things that happened while they were in presidency. Our fearless leader, I don't know, he's probably far away from that age group right now, but I mean, I don't put it past anybody to do something like that. And it's a little concerning that that's the world we live in. And that's the people that we deal with. And that's, the evil that's in this world.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah. Okay. So those basically were the three that we picked out from the book here. There are plenty of them there. So I'm sure future episodes, we can do some research on a couple more conspiracies, because they're always fun to talk about, just because you get people's point of views on what they think about things and what you think about things. And then you could have a good back and forth about it. Is there anything that you want to talk about in the future with conspiracies at all? I
love anything, anybody who knows me, I love supernatural stuff, ghosts, anything along those lines. Well, maybe not ghosts, because that actually does scare me. But vampires. Vampires, I like that whole. It's not a conspiracy, but I feel like what would those be called? What are those called? Urban legends.
Urban legends, yeah.
I feel like that would be kind of cool.
Lizard people.
Lizard people, or what is that? The big one with the hair
in Sasquatch? The forest.
Yeah, is that no? That's not a conspiracy. Okay, rewind on conspiracies. I read somewhere that the Sasquatch was a legit human being, but then he was experimented on by the US government and then released out into the wild. And I feel like that's quite interesting. And I love I always go down the rabbit hole. I always have these little bouts every year of when I want to go down the rabbit hole of people's videos. And I 100% know people can edit the videos. I get it. But I just find it so interesting to watch these videos, to hear what people have to say, people's accounts of when they thought they saw the Sasquatch, or any type of being that is not a human being. I love hearing about that stuff. So
we're going to have to do an episode on that. We'll do an episode
that's
on
pretty
Bigfoot,
cool.
On its own, and go for that, because I'm always interested in a good conspiracy. I just like to see some of the yahoos that are out there, some of the facts that are out there. and then just go with it and then talk about it because it's pretty interesting.
I 100% agree. I'm so excited.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap up this episode. And as always, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PodJerky. You can find us on our link tree. That's linktr.ee/PodJerky, as well as our bite size. That's bytesize.me/PodJerky. Always so much to remember. I'm surprised after 2 months, I still remember all of that. It's just like second nature. But yeah, go ahead and follow us on our social media links. As always, stay safe, be kind to each other. We will see you later.
See you later.
Here we go now. Pod Jerky.